The Global Partnership on Plastic Pollution and Marine Litter is a multi-stakeholder partnership that brings together all actors working to address marine litter and plastic pollution. By providing a unique global mechanism to share knowledge and experience, partners can work together to create and advance solutions to this pressing global issue. The global digital platform compiles and crowdsources technical resources, integrates data, and connects stakeholders to guide action. GPML Digital Platform supports the work of the GPML Action Track 1, Science Policy Linkages to bridge science, innovation, and policy by promoting effective communication and understanding. The digital platform provides a permanent, active, and effective multi-stakeholder forum to promote communication and understanding on science, innovation, and policy developments on marine litter and plastic pollution. Regional nodes of the GPML provide regional platforms for knowledge and data sharing and multi-stakeholder networking. They aim to support and promote efforts to address marine litter at the regional level, strengthening knowledge management and enhancing cooperation between regions and globally in support of the GPML's objectives. The East Asian Seas Regional Node of the GPML was established by the 9 participating countries of the Coordinating Body on the Seas of East Asia in 2022. It serves as a regional marine litter management and networking hub to achieve the COBSI Regional Action Plan on marine litter. The web platform of the node is connected to the global platform and curates regional resources and data layers. COBSI Regional Node supports knowledge sharing along 3 pillars: policies and good practices, research and science, and capacity building. This includes a unique regional plastic pollution research database and inventory for the ASEAN Plus 3 region. The database was developed in partnership with the National University of Singapore with funding from the Sea Circular project implemented jointly by COBSI and UN Environment Programme with support from the Government of Sweden. The database contains over 700 peer-reviewed publications, research data, and visualizations on marine plastic pollution from the wider East Asian Seas region, across disciplines and languages. The database is maintained through the Regional Research Network of the node. This is a network of research scientists in the East Asian Seas region to share findings on marine plastic pollution research. This interdisciplinary network promotes collaborative research to inform policy priorities with science-based information and address knowledge needs. The network can share key research findings and priorities for action with decision-makers through the COBSI Working Group on Marine Litter. This web platform with its research database and network provides a regional interface between science and policy for evidence-based action. Science, research, technology, and innovation are critical to make progress towards the SDGs and an international instrument on plastic pollution. A strong science policy interface is necessary to bridge the gap between knowledge and action. The Global Digital Platform and COBSI Regional Node enable stakeholders to make the most of scientific evidence to address knowledge gaps and policy priorities on marine plastic litter through data and research enhancement.
Greetings, distinguished guests, delegates, ministers, excellencies, and more. My name is Sarosh Nagar. I am a researcher at Harvard University, and before I begin, I would like to thank the United Nations, UNDESA, UNCTAD, Her Excellency Minister Stoeva, Her Excellency Minister Joyini, His Excellency Minister Woodruff, and more for this incredible opportunity to speak at the STI Forum at the United Nations. It is truly an honor and one that I will cherish for some time to come. I am going to speak today about the vital importance of public sector investment into basic science research, especially in the life sciences. To date, there have been more than 650 million cases of COVID-19 worldwide, with more than 6.9 million deaths. These deaths are a horrendous tragedy, and one we must work to prevent moving forward, and innovation is a vital part of that prevention effort. For example, innovation into key therapeutics and vaccines was vital to saving millions of lives during the COVID-19 pandemic. And many of these innovations, while indeed funded by vast amounts of private sector investment, were also funded critically and transformatively by public sector investment as well. Public investment from governments, for example, was vital to the development of mRNA vaccines, as the governments of the United States, Canada, Germany, and countless other countries gave more than $30 billion to develop the critical mRNA vaccines that saved millions of lives worldwide. Yet, in today's discussions of policy and fiscal policymaking, science and basic science funding often takes a back burner and is at risk of funding cuts. This is deeply problematic. Public sector investment into basic science research, especially in the life sciences, has the potential to produce wondrous innovations in the life sciences and beyond, such as a pan-coronavirus vaccine that could save millions of lives worldwide. Thus, we have an obligation as an international community of governments, researchers, and more to preserve, protect, and promote public sector investment into vital sectors of basic science. In particular, we need governments to protect and double down on public sector investment into critical areas, especially those underfunded by the private sector. For example, in antibiotics, where the private sector has often lagged behind in investment, yet more than 10 million people may soon become susceptible to antimicrobial resistant infections moving forward. It is vital that as an international community and as governments, we work to support research into antibiotics and other critical sectors to ensure we have the needed innovations necessary to ward off future pathogens and save lives. Second, we need to overhaul funding processes so that talented researchers like Catalin Carrico, the inventor of the mRNA vaccine that was denied a grant application for several times, receive the funding they need for their ideas, especially if those ideas are visionary, transformative proposals that have not been tested by modern science, but merit oftentimes more research and more innovation and have the potential to produce real benefits for millions of people. Third, we need to ensure that governments use public investment as an opportunity and as a way to condition that technologies are used in a safe, transparent, and equitable manner to benefit their citizens. And fourth, we need to ensure there is improved international coordination on science investments. Governments must work together to pool resources to ensure that the most money is invested into the greatest global priorities, such as into antibiotics, renewables, and other key sectors of science funding as well. In short, science needs to be put as a focal priority of government funding once more, not merely a back burner, but as a core part of fiscal agendas for societies and governments moving forward. This is necessary to boost innovation, accelerate transformation, and build a healthier and happier world for all of us. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Khalid Mahmood, a student of MSc in Disaster Management in University of Engineering and Technology, Lahore, Pakistan. Millions of dollars are being spent for the primary and secondary education globally for the basic need of community in the regions. What if I will say that unfortunately, in some regions, this amount of money is being spent on outdated, old-fashioned syllabus. And this is the misusing of the funds. Today, what we are spending this amount of money now will be considered tomorrow that it is not utilized properly. My study is going to highlight some area where this concept can be reviewed. I try to emphasize in my brief that the primary and the secondary education syllabus to be revised based on the current science and technology requirement of SDGs. On a daily basis, a list of the science and technology is getting longer and longer. And as per the relevant SDGs, the latest knowledge need to be added in our basic level of education to make the communities more resilient. In last, I would like to say that in disputed areas, disputed territories, I request to United Nations to look into framework to make some necessary intervene to implement the SDGs and the possibilities of the STI integration into the syllabus so that they can have their own members of the decision makers into the upcoming decades of their life. Thank you very much for your time. Take care.
Hi everyone, so my name is Dr. Jaakko Kuosmanen and I work for the Finnish Academy of Science and Letters. I came to New York to introduce a policy brief on a Science for Policy operating model that we've been developing in Finland for the past 4 years now, in collaboration with the scientific community and with the government. We're very excited about this model because we think that it complements and adds up to the existing models of science for policy, where the government asks questions from the scientists and then the scientists try to answer that, and hence you will have better evidence-informed policy. What we've tried to do is we try to bring together the scientists and policymakers, especially the civil servants responsible for the drafting, at the very early stages of drafting, and do the interaction logic with the scientific community in an inverted manner. So instead of asking questions and then the scientists trying to answer those questions, we've tried to turn the logic around and simply say, well, the government and the policymakers are bringing early drafts to the table. So you have hypotheses, you have claims, and then the scientists try to answer those claims and the hypothesis from the perspective of their scientific expertise. And this works very well in systemic policy issues where you don't necessarily know the questions in advance. So turning the dialogue around leaves the possibility of also discovering the known unknowns and unknown knowns as well through a dialogue. So hence, it is a model that complements, we believe, the existing science for policy models that work on the question and answer logic. And I think this is something that requires further exploration. We're very happy to have been tapped into this for the past few years, and this is a model hopefully that is also scalable and applicable to countries around the world, because it doesn't need very big infrastructures or resourcing. It's a model for dialogue. So I'm happy to speak about this more here, and very happy to be here this week. Thank you.
Central America is one of the most biodiverse regions in the world, but it's also facing significant challenges when it comes to natural resource governance. Inadequate laws addressing issues such as territorial planning, extractive industries, intensive agriculture, conservation of biodiversity, and infrastructure development have all contributed to environmental vulnerabilities and impacts from climate change. The region is already experiencing increased aridity, hurricanes, and consequential impacts on agriculture, also forced migrations. The Central American dry region possesses the highest prevalence of undernourishment in the continent. Central American governments have been known to prioritize national objectives above the needs and concerns of local communities, with authoritarian tendencies in Guatemala, El Salvador, Honduras, and Nicaragua. The inclusion of practices such as revolving doors and lobbying enhance the state capture phenomenon that has a direct impact in natural resource governance. To address this issue, we propose 8 axis dimensions in which climate policy must be reinforced to achieve effective management of natural resources in Central America. Countries with healthier democracies like Costa Rica have shown that efforts to tackle unsustainable resource exploitation through domestic public policies, financial mechanisms under the international programs, and sustainable supply chain initiatives can make a difference. Efforts to preserve indigenous lands through conservation policies must be prioritized. This underscores the significance of taking bottom-up approaches to design environmental policies and investments in Central America. The state capture phenomenon is not an illegal one, it rather uses legal strategies to promote private interest above public ones. It's time to take actions. By establishing effective monitoring system to gather and evaluate data on climate risks, investing in scientific research and education, and promoting institutional strengthening through a sense of cultural, historical congruence within society, we can achieve effective management on natural resources in Central America. Democracy, science, and conservation are core elements that go hand in hand and that need to be nourished in a region that struggles with destructive activities and the protection of life.
Hello, greetings from Brazil. I am the Professor Felipe Diaz. It's a pleasure to be participating in the Science, Technology and Innovation Forum for Sustainable Development Goals. And today I will present the main results and recommendations of our brief. So, the name of our brief is Cities and COVID-19 Challenges and Strategies based on the Brazilian case. Here we can see in the authors, and I'm Felipe Diaz. Well, first, it's necessary to highlight the scope of our brief. The scope of our brief includes the following questions. First, analysis and examines the correlation between the cities and time of COVID-19 pandemic. Two, it shows the challenges and possible strategies as indicators of urban sustainability. 3, it brings us an example of outstanding Brazilian case, describing the power of the real and organized information. Well, about the main results, we can see the main results points to connection or transition between smart cities and sustainable cities based on assumption of the organization. In this context, the great discovery is the need to correlate access to information by decision makers and the physical spatial demands of the cities. Here we can see some of the results. First, advancing from using the term right to the city to a broader perspective, such as having the right to smart and sustainable cities. The existing duality and conflicts about the term smart cities. The organization of cities and access to real information are essential to promote urban sustainability. Notes from the Brazilian system case to pose a global question. As recommendations, we must think about the right to the city, articulating the urban sustainability with the access of information is necessary. It is in this perspective that the proposition of information monitoring and management system for urban space is examined. Thinking about the diagnostic urban spaces and means thinking about the access to real education, housing, and all other essential elements for healed quality of life. Here we can see some of the recommendations, but the interesting is the read the full brief. First, think about the urban sustainability as experience of access monitoring and diagnosis of the cities obtained from obtained from information systems. Propose a new way of managing the challenges, contingents, and existing obstacles, especially from the point of view of inequality. And 3, in addition, a multi-purpose information system. That is, having access to information is an indispensable resource to support planning territorial policies, control of pandemics and endemics. And last, we need to think about the city, live the city, and change the city. We must articulate sustainable development in all its forms. My sincere thanks to everyone.
Iniciativas y desafíos para el fortalecimiento del asesoramiento experto en políticas en los poderes ejecutivos y legislativos. La ciencia, la tecnología y la innovación hoy se presentan como un elemento clave para resolver los urgentes desafíos para el desarrollo planteados por los Objetivos de Desarrollo Sostenible. ¿Pero qué es necesario para que esto suceda? En el siglo XXI, el contrato entre ciencia, tecnología y sociedad cambió hacia uno en donde la legitimidad de la ciencia también reside en que ésta contribuya en la resolución de grandes desafíos. En particular, desde América Latina se habló mucho de la brecha entre la producción de conocimiento y la industria, de la producción de bienes y servicios que resuelvan estas necesidades. Pero se habló poco de la brecha entre producción de conocimiento científico y cómo éste sirve para mejorar las políticas públicas. Sobre esto se habló del que funcionarios públicos recurren poco a las capacidades de los sistemas STI y del otro lado se habla de las dificultades de las instituciones científicas para generar conocimientos usables, que sirvan y que estén a tiempo también para informar la toma de decisiones. Hace tiempo se instaló el discurso de mejorar las políticas públicas a través de la cientización de las políticas, con una mayor demanda de generar políticas sobre las bases y fundamentos tecnocientíficos. Frente a los desafíos de desarrollo que tensionan metas de crecimiento, inclusión y ambiente, se da una mayor complejidad en los asuntos que son de materia de decisión ejecutiva y legislativa, que demandan mejores políticas públicas informadas en conocimiento científico. En esto se suele hablar de políticas basadas en evidencia o políticas informadas en evidencia. ¿Pero qué cuenta como evidencia? ¿Quiénes construyen esta evidencia y cuáles son los fundamentos tecnocientíficos que se toman como legítimos? Esto tiende a ver a las autoridades expertas o científicos como instancias de asesoramiento técnico neutral, cuando usualmente están alineadas a respuestas políticas. También deja fuera del proceso a los no expertos, que usualmente son los objetivos de las políticas públicas, cuyos conocimientos y saberes no son tomados en cuenta en el proceso de hechura de política pública. En los últimos 20 años, los movimientos de pacientes, movimientos por fumigación por agroquímicos, grupos impulsando la agroecología, activistas para frenar el cambio climático, fueron movilizando estas demandas colectivas, posicionando estos reclamos en la agenda pública. También movilizaron instituciones y expertos del sistema científico público, generando procesos de interacción entre distintos tipos de conocimiento y saberes. Esto dio lugar a formas de construcción y negociación de conocimientos heterogéneos, científico, tecnológico, experiencial, local, tradicional, que cuestionaron la posición privilegiada del saber científico experto. En América Latina, la institucionalización del proceso de asesoramiento experto para política pública es un fenómeno reciente, y en Argentina en particular, los debates de la ley de cannabis medicinal, la ley de interrupción voluntaria del embarazo y la ley de etiquetado frontal de alimentos fueron puntos de inflexión en donde la participación de expertos se dio en el marco de interacciones entre diversos actores, aportando desde sus experticias y saberes negociados moldeando la agenda pública. En estas instancias se dio la particularidad de que contaron con políticas informadas con conocimiento científico y a la vez incluyeron de manera plural experticias de diversos actores en su hechura, generando articulaciones más democráticas. El escenario del COVID también mostró la relevancia de la ciencia para hacer políticas públicas y tomar decisiones desde una mirada transdisciplinaria y multisectorial, que contemplara lo sanitario, lo epidemiológico, pero también factores educativos, psicológicos y económicos. Hoy, la hechura de política en Latinoamérica vuelve prioritario. 1. Avanzar hacia la institucionalización de instancias de asesoramiento experto en la región. 2. Incorporar como parte de la gobernanza estas instancias de articulación y negociación con conocimientos y activismos, de modo que diversas experticias y actores puedan tener voz en la agenda pública y en la producción de conocimiento. Y 3. Nutrir los procesos de hechura de política pública de estas experticias científicas, experiencias e informales, construyendo evidencias más plurales que informen políticas más democráticas.
Hello, my name is Dr. Sandra Pishik. I'm an architect and director of Free Ideas. I'm based in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. And it has been a pleasure to provide science policy recommendations for STI Forum 2023 in collaboration with GISTIC, UNIDO and University of Arizona. Our title and proposal for the science policy briefing recommendations is based on enablers for transformative change, and is focused on 3 areas based on this book that I'm holding in my hands. It's called Habitat Vernacular Architecture for a Changing Planet, due to be published by Townsend Hanson. Our recommendations focus on 3 areas. One, based on bioregional collaboration, and we want to reinstate a world order based on 5 climate zones of the planet. We believe that this is going to help in economic development of countries of similar climate characteristics, for example, the MENA region in Arabian Peninsula and North Africa. The second recommendation that we put forward is focused on nature-based industrialization, and here we have an amazing entry from UNIDO. And the fourth one is calling for new forms of partnerships, including indigenous peoples. We believe that culture and civilizations have a powerful role as enablers for transformative change. Check out the website of STI Forum 2023, and we look forward to seeing you there. Thank you.
Among the global goals for sustainable development, world leaders agreed on Goal 17, Partnership for the Goals, which aims to strengthen the means of implementation and revitalize the global partnership for sustainable development. However, the partnership between science, policy, and society is particularly weak in countries from the global south. Science policy interface can produce impacts that enhance society well-being, but collaboration between science and policy communities are not straightforward. Training programs can help advance the challenges faced by science and policy communities in developing countries.
For scientists looking to participate in the policy arena, involvement in the policymaking process requires other skills beyond a PhD training. Science policy interface training programs have been designed to help early career researchers acquire knowledge and develop abilities suitable to support public decision-making. The programs usually comprise an intensive series of courses followed by an immersive experience in policymaking organization, where trainees gain first-hand insightful knowledge of the inner workings of policymaking. This results in a gain-gain scenario where policymaking organizations procure specialized staff and fellows acquire professional experience to open up new career paths.
Our policy recommendation is to embed science policy interface programs in the larger science, technology, and innovation ecosystem of developing countries. To achieve this, a gradual and systematic approach that considers the following is suggested. Include the promotion of a closer relation between science and society in the National Development Plan or similar document. Involve key policymakers and other stakeholders from early stage of the project. Choose a host institution willing to divert some of its existing resources or collaborate to procure new ones.
Ensure financing, keeping in mind that resources may be attained through agreements with relevant stakeholders. Include topics on science policy interface, public policy, writing of policy briefs, and other evidence-based documents, as well as important soft skills. 2 years of training for PhD holders seem to be adequate. Regular meetings with fellows and supervising officers for coordination, assessment, and steering are highly encouraged. Universities and research centers can integrate science policy interface content into their curricula to enhance promotion and readiness.
Developing countries face serious challenges like poverty, inequality, disease, pollution, climate change, and others. Science and policy communities need to work together to design sound strategies to solve such problems. Training programs in the science policy interface can improve evidence-oriented decision-making and effectively address challenges, ultimately benefiting society.